Welcome to Colorado and Me. I'm Jennifer Broom. We are all about talking about what you're talking about issues and things that are happening in the state. You know, ski season is a big reason that a lot of us live here. You're like me, you love that fast access to the outdoors, including hitting the slopes. Folks come from all over the world, from England to Mexico to Australia, to experience our epic ski slopes, that world-renowned skiing that we're known for. But this ski season is unlike any others because of the pandemic. So let's talk about it, what you need to know before and what your experience is going to be like on the mountain. Joining me, I have Chris Linsmeyer. He is Public Affairs Director for Colorado Ski Country, and Lauren Roberson. She is Communications Manager for Keystone Resort. Lauren, I want to start with you and kind of set the stage of Keystone is part of Vail Resorts. How many resorts does Vail have in Colorado?
Vail has 5 resorts in Colorado. So Beaver Creek, Vail, Crested Butte, Breckenridge, and Keystone. So a ton of access to some great resorts here.
And Chris, I know a lot of folks may not be familiar with Colorado Ski Country. What is it?
Yeah, Colorado Ski Country, we are a trade association that represents 22 ski areas across the state. So pretty much all the ski areas that Lauren did not just list, from big destination resorts like Aspen Snowmass, Steamboat, Telluride, all the way down to community-owned ski hills like Kendall Mountain and Silverton, or Howelson Hill and Steamboat, and then sort of everything in between.
Okay, guys, so before our COVID ski season, you could go, and if a magical powder day, say, happens tomorrow, you could just go. You didn't have to make reservations. But this ski season, that's all changed. And one of those big changes is having to make those advanced reservations. And Lauren, I understand that across the board with Vail, you have to make a reservation.
Yep. So we created our plans this season, with the intention that we assumed we'd probably still be dealing with the pandemic. So we really wanted to be out front with our approach and offer a way that people could safely get back to doing what they love to do, which is skiing and riding. So ahead of visiting our resorts, you are required to make a reservation. So you'll go on to epicpass.com, find the day that you want to ski, and then you can walk right up onto the slope and make those turns.
And then, Chris, I know it's a little different for all of the other resorts. Some are requiring reservations, some are requiring parking, some are just kind of business as usual as come when you get that powdered air whenever you want, right?
That's right. So I think the biggest thing we want folks to know from today's conversation is this mantra of know before you go. If you know what ski area you're going to visit, check in with them today, leading up to your trip, even the morning before you head up, to fully understand what their COVID policies are. Now, when it comes to reservations, those vary a little bit across our 22 ski areas. Some ski areas are selling walk-up daily lift tickets. The vast majority are not and are requiring advance or pre-purchase. When it comes to reservations, Winter Park is requiring pre-arrival reservations. You can go ahead and make those on their website. Copper and Eldora are requiring parking reservations. So in order to get into the parking lot, you're going to need a parking reservation for that day. And those vary. There's some early morning times, mid-morning, and even early afternoon. So if you don't get in quite in the early morning like you wanted, you can still get in the afternoon. And then for Icon Pass holders that are going to be visiting Arapahoe Basin or Aspen Snowmass, you do need to make an online reservation through the Icon Pass website as well.
And Chris, it's probably also a good idea, and Lauren, that you're going to agree with this as well. You want to check the county websites too. For example, Chris, I know Pitkin County, where Aspen Snowmass is located, they're requiring you to fill out a travel affidavit and have a negative COVID test, correct?
Yes, that's right. And that goes really back to that know before you go piece. Depending on what ski area you're going to visit, they may be in a different COVID level. So here in Colorado, we have a sort of color dial system, and most of our ski areas are operating in either orange or red. And the biggest notice for folks is going to be on indoor dining. If you're in a red county, there is no indoor dining. If you're in an orange county, there's up to 25% indoor dining. But many of those indoor dining establishments are requiring reservations to get into. So you've listed Pitkin County out, but depending on what other ski area you might be visiting, you're going to want to check in with them, and they're going to be following all local and state guidelines related to that COVID dial.
It's kind of, guys, it's that COVID confusion continues. So I think your advice is fantastic. Make sure you check the ski area or resort website. Also check the county that it's in. Check that websites. And I know most of the ski areas, if not all of them, have their county information, at least where you can just click on it. All right, guys, I want to dive into that on-mountain experience. Lauren, all right, first thing, I need to have a mask, correct?
Absolutely. So there are a few additional things that we're doing. Safety's always been a priority for Vail Resorts, but this year there are a few additional protocols to make sure everyone's safe. So face coverings are required in all areas of our operation. So that's whether you're standing in line for our lifts, whether you're riding the lifts or the gondolas, in our facilities, if you're not actively eating or drinking. And another piece of that is social distancing. We really want to make sure that we're giving each other the space that we need. And, we're looking to our guests to help each other and keep everyone safe.
And Chris, I know that's pretty uniform as well for all of the resorts and ski areas under Colorado Ski Country.
That's right. So the mask and face covering requirements are set by the state. Essentially, anytime you are not actually socially distanced and skiing and enjoying your day on the ski hill, you're going to need to have a mask that covers your nose and face. And I would remind folks, if you've gone up the lift, you've dropped the mask while you're skiing, as you come back into the lift line, please go ahead and put that back up over both your nose and mouth.
Okay, so I have to ask, guys, do I have to have a regular mask, or can I use a gaiter? Does that work, like one of the neck gaiters? Does that work, Lauren?
So for us, it needs to follow the CDC's facial cover guidelines. So that means it needs to be a piece of fabric that covers both your nose and mouth, and it also cannot have any ventilation or holes. So as long as it follows the CDC guidelines, it works for us.
All right, Chris, what about Colorado Ski Country?
Yeah, that's the same thing. You'll need to have a face covering that follows the CDC guidelines. So that's a double layered neck gaiter, or if you've got a buff and a mask on top of it, or a mask underneath the buff, that's going to meet those CDC guidelines.
And Chris, I know on coloradoski.com, you guys have this great, it's a one sheet that gives you a tons of information along with pro tips. And one of those, which I actually didn't think about this, but it's great advice, try out your neck gaiter with your goggles and helmet before you get to the slopes.
That's right. We have seen folks struggling with the mask and how the goggles maybe go over the neck gaiter. So one pro tip we're offering folks is to, before you hit the slopes, maybe in your car or even the night before, try out that mask with your helmet and goggles on to make sure you're prepared to have that all bundled up and covered when you get to the slopes.
Okay, full disclosure, I'm one of those that struggles with all the gear anyways. You guys know there's a ton of equipment, especially on the safety side. I am a huge fan of always wearing that helmet. So let's go on and switch to the lift lines and the gondolas. Lauren, what is it like? What can you expect? I know the 6 feet of distance in between, but can you ride with your party? And if you are a single person, I always like to go the single line because you can zip a little faster. Can you still do that?
Yes, so what our requirements are is we need to have at least one open seat between unrelated parties. So those are set by the state. And so if we have, say, a 6-pack chair and you're riding with 3 people and you're comfortable with it, and a single person is able to jump on and ride with you, as long as you make sure that you have that open seat between you and you're wearing your facial coverings the entire time.
And Chris, is that what you're seeing across the board, getting some space if you're not with your own party?
Yeah, so if you're with your own party, you're going to be able to load those lifts and gondolas to full capacity. So as Lauren was mentioning, if you're riding a 4-person lift with 4 people in your party, you can all load up together. As long as, or if you're riding with other folks not from your party, you need to have that one open seat between you and the other party on a lift.
Okay, so let's talk food and beverage, because of course you're working up an appetite, you're working up a thirst when you're on the slopes. Lauren, I'm assuming no indoor dining right now on the mountain, right?
We are offering actually a variety of dining options. So there are grab and go, and there also are some indoor dining options available. So to Chris's point, you need to make sure you know before you go, because all of our resorts are going to operate based on the local community and county guidelines. So depending on where you're at, there's going to be a little bit of a different process. But there are indoor dining options available with reduced capacity. And so one thing that we're kind of asking our guests this year for some of our facilities is to book a table before you go. And so you can do that via our Epic Mix app, or you can do that on an application called Time to Dine. So every morning at 7 a.m., that opens up and you can go in, you can book your table for the day and reserve that space to go and sit down and have a nice meal with your family.
And Chris, I know I gave some friends as they were heading up to Wolf Creek. I looked and was like, okay, what's it like on the mountain there? And told them, hey, maybe do it old school, pack your lunch, have some stuff in the car in case, you can't get into some indoor dining. You're also seeing that across the board as well, right? Just a variety of options.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to underscore what Lauren said, I mean, grab and go and outdoor dining is definitely the norm. Now, that varies a little bit by resort. Some ski areas, you're able to place an order ahead and pick it up at a window. Other places sort of have what you would consider a food truck, walk up to a window and order and then step aside and wait and then take it to a table outdoors, as well as some limited indoor dining. Many of our ski areas actually have their parking lots close to their base. And so at those ski areas, we are encouraging folks to use their car as a mini lodge and maybe bring a lunch and visit back to the car during lunch and eat there versus needing to be indoors. So that's a great option for folks if you're visiting a ski area that does have a parking lot within walking distance of the base.
So Chris, kind of that iconic A-Basin beach experience has now expanded a little bit to some of the other resorts and areas.
Yeah, and I would say too, I mean, people think of the beach for, a big party scene and a large gathering. We're certainly not encouraging that in our parking lots this year. We're asking you to social distance with non-related parties in those parking lots and stay within your own ski party that you've arrived at the ski area with. But yes, parking lots are the place to be this year with your ski party for maybe lunch or booting up or a small après after the day.
Okay, Lauren, let's kind of switch gears and talk about, say, rentals and lessons. What do I need to know if I'm booking either of those?
So we've kind of reimagined a lot of these experiences. So for our rental experience, we are managing capacity in our resorts, and a really awesome offering specifically at Keystone, but at all of our Vail resorts in Colorado, we have rental delivery options. So that's super great way to get your rentals, and they'll actually bring the equipment to you in a kind of a different environment so that you can do your fitting right in your own home or your lodging or wherever you're staying at. And then for our ski lessons, we're still offering group and private lessons. You can make those reservations ahead of time online, and your ski lesson does count as your reservation for the day.
Okay, awesome. And then, Chris, I got to ask you, is it a good year compared to pre-COVID years? Is it a good year to learn to ski and ride?
It's always a great year to learn to ski and ride. I think the big thing to understand is that reservation requirement. Almost every ski area in Colorado, if you're going to be taking a lesson, is requiring you to pre-purchase that lesson and make a reservation. And I'll point out too, in past years, most group lessons and private lessons they went from early in the morning till mid-afternoon. Most ski areas have actually reduced those to 2 separate half-day lessons. So for those of us that are new to the sport, maybe that's a great way to get into it with a half-day lesson to avoid that lunch crowding that we often see in years past.
And I always feel like there is something to learn in every lesson, guys. I attempted to ski when I was young, but I actually learned to ski as an adult. So I am one of those people that likes to get on the slopes and have the whole run to myself. Traditionally, I know Saturday is the busiest day across the board to go skiing. What's the best day of the week, Lauren, for me to have no crowds?
Well, obviously holidays and weekends are very popular. But this year, at our resorts, it's a little different because we are managing capacity every single day of the week. So midweek is always a great target if you want it to be a little more quiet. But this season it is interesting because we are managing the capacity, and so we're seeing that consistency throughout the week.
Chris, it's kind of funny. All three of us dream of skiing right now because we're sitting, y'all are in offices, I'm in my home. What's your favorite day of the week to hit the slopes?
Well, my organization's based down in Denver, so I am a weekend warrior for all of those out there. But for those that have the flexibility, I would certainly encourage them to try and visit midweek. That's where you're going to have a little bit more elbow room potentially, and not necessarily need to make a reservation on one of those busier holiday periods. Certainly try and avoid those, and if you can, try and avoid the weekends as well.
And guys, we all need that mental health, get out there and breathe kind of moment. So midweek sounds just perfect. I know not only has the pandemic caused ski areas to change, but our weather, I'm putting my little meteorologist hat on right now, weather has definitely been a challenge since we are in a La Nina season. And guys, it looks like it's actually going to extend, possibly seeing a transition starting in April. So how does that affect, say, the terrain you're able to open, Lauren, on top of already a really tough year to try to have ski season?
Yeah, we actually had a really productive early season snowmaking year. So both most recently at Vail and Keystone, we invested in our snowmaking system. So at Keystone last summer, we upgraded to a state-of-the-art automated energy efficient system, which really allowed us to capitalize on those early season low temperature windows. And so at Vail and Beaver Creek and Keystone, we're almost 100% open. For Breckenridge and Crested Butte, some of that more high alpine, rockier terrain, we are, looking to Mother Nature to get those areas open. So always great to have Mother Nature help out, and we're fingers crossed that she keeps it coming. But all in all, we're doing pretty well.
And Chris, of course, our snowiest month is March, so we still got time as we get into March, and then April is our second snowiest month. I know all ski areas and resorts are just hoping for a little bit of help from Mother Nature so that we can all wear our snorkels and go get our face mask.
Yeah, and we're encouraged looking ahead here to potentially a stormier pattern. And I would say too, some things about we've spent this whole show talking about how different the season is. The actual experience of skiing and snowboarding is refreshingly the same. You are still up enjoying some crisp, cool mountain air, beautiful bluebird days, or skiing on the slopes in nature. So those pieces in terms of the mental health piece are important. And yes, we do have our fingers crossed for more snow here in the coming weeks.
I think that's reassuring to hear that the experience of just swishing down the slopes, or, which I'm not great at, going through the trees, getting those experiences that you kind of love to get on the slopes. Lauren, what is it like, say, right now, cruising down School Marm?
There's nothing like it, really. And to Krista's point, what we love and what we want to do is skiing and riding, and that experience is still there. And so I know myself getting up early and going and taking a lap first thing in the morning, looking out over Lake Dillon, there's nothing better.
And Chris, I know it's kind of been a shift this year, which I think was actually kind of starting before the pandemic, but that trend towards touchless technology, cashless transactions, and then even using apps as part of your ski and ride experience. Do you think some of this stuff that is in effect right now is going to stick around in future seasons?
Absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, especially with the touchless interactions or pre-purchase of things. I think that those things, it's still a little early to say that they're definitely here to stay because we've got our heads down, we're about a third into the season here. But I think that there have been some really positive changes that have come across the industry and have improved the consumer experience that you'll likely see for years to come after this season.
And Lauren, I know a lot of the employees that come in for the ski season are what are called J1 visa employees. And those are students from around the world that come to learn and to work here in Colorado. I have to ask, where are y'all getting employees this year?
Our employee landscape definitely looks different this year. And I think that there are a couple unique opportunities. We have more people who are doing virtual learning. We have people who are working from home. So there is an opportunity to live remotely and work somewhere new. And with that, we are still actively hiring at some of our resorts. And one of the benefits is, as an employee, you get an Epic Pass and you don't have to make those reservations.
And I think a lot of folks may not know, but a lot of the safety staff, say your ski patrollers, a lot of those are, tried and true locals that are there year after year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And having that local base that's in there, they know the operations, they have the great places to recommend on what you can do when you're not skiing and riding. So absolutely.
And Chris, kind of looking ahead to some amazing, hopefully, fingers crossed, spring ski and riding. Let's talk about ways to save money for folks that maybe didn't buy a pass at the beginning of this season because of the uncertainty of the pandemic. Help me save some money. What are some options?
Yeah, well, let me tell you a little bit about our GEMS card, and you're certainly right. There are plenty of skiers who have held off on either purchasing the season pass or purchasing a 4-pack. At Colorado Ski Country, we have something called the GEMS card, which is a little discount card. It costs $35, but you can actually use it twice at 11 resorts for either a buy one, get one free lift ticket. So if you've gone with a friend or a significant other or someone else for the price of 2 admissions, or if you're on your own or with a child, 30% off an adult lift ticket. So again, use it twice at 11 resorts, so 22 total days. We think of it as like one of the best deals here in Colorado skiing that very few people know about.
Well, heck yeah. Anytime you can get 2 for 1, who doesn't love that? And also kind of thinking ahead, Chris, to next school year, what grade levels get the pass?
Yeah, so we also have the Colorado Ski Country Passport program. Those are actually still on sale now. That's good for 5th graders. There's a $40 processing fee, and that provides up to 3 days of skiing at 21 ski areas, and it's good Monday through Fridays this season. And then for 6th graders, same deal, good for 4 days at the same 21 resorts, Monday through Friday. So a great opportunity for families that maybe were holding back on ski season this year and looking beyond to next year. If you've got a 5th or 6th grader, great options for families to get out and explore different ski areas across the state.
Oh, and get out and enjoy some great spring skiing. So Lauren, what kind of deals does Vail Resorts have?
So actually this year we introduced what's called the Epic Mountain Rewards program. So if you purchased an Epic Pass, you'll get 20% off on things like lodging, ski lessons, so a variety of different things, rentals. So that's a great opportunity. And then of course, if you don't have an Epic Pass, purchasing your lift ticket in advance, because that's as long as you know the day you're skiing, you can purchase the lift ticket in advance. And like I mentioned, that is also counts as your reservation for the day. So always make that purchase in advance if you can.
So Lauren, I got to ask you a Keystone specific question. What about, the tubing and the snow fort? Are those kind of things still open? And then like over at Beaver Creek, is the Nordic Center, the Mountaintop Nordic Center, still open?
Yep. So at both Beaver Creek and Keystone, we are offering the Nordic centers this year, which is a great way to, experience the snow off of the slopes. And then we also have our mountaintop tubing this season. And then we have 2 ice rinks at Keystone. So we have Durkham Ice Rink and then Keystone Lake, which is a 5-acre lake, the largest Zamboni maintained ice rink. And so there's a lot of fun to be had off of the slopes as well.
And Chris, Lauren just alluded to some of the stuff, say, in some of the villages and the ski towns. Is it good advice to say the whole know before you go? Kind of check if you want to go dog sledding, if you want to go ice skating, if you want to go snowmobiling, those other things that you might do on a long ski weekend or a ski vacation, so that you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, ski areas don't just have skiing and snowboarding anymore. Many of us have guided snowshoe tours or things like ice rinks at the base areas. But if you're going to be visiting a specific community, they've got a website that will list all the different activities that they have available, as well as those COVID-19 policies that you're going to need to follow in order to be able to do those non-skiing activities while you're visiting our Colorado high country.
Oh, guys, you all are making me want to just like run and hit the slopes right now. So, of course, this is such a unique ski season, and we got about 2 minutes left. So, Lauren, I want to know, so let's kind of look ahead to 2021, 2022. Let's look ahead. Give us a little preview of next ski season.
Yeah, I mean, so for this year, we're really just focused on having a successful ski season from start to finish. And for next year, in our latest investors release, our CEO Rob Katz did talk about our intention to pick up some of our capital projects that were put on hold last summer. So that includes, the Beaver Creek expansion that was on hold, and then also for Crested Butte and Beaver Creek, or Crested Butte, Keystone, and Breckenridge. We're all hoping to get some new lifts next year. So that's the intention, and fingers crossed that that happens.
And Chris, give me a little insight into what that kind of 35,000 point viewpoint of looking at the 21-22 ski season.
Yeah, so what I'd say is the ski industry is just about the most optimistic group of people you'll ever meet. We are definitely a glass half full bunch. So while we do have all of our focus on this ski season, we are looking forward to not just next ski season, but the summer. Many of our resorts have mountain bike parks or aerial adventure parks that you can come up and visit in the summer in those warmer months, maybe when you're a little more prepared to be outside. We're definitely looking forward to increased investment. Colorado is the #1 ski state across the country for a reason. We continue to invest in that guest experience and improve ways to get folks out into nature and enjoying themselves on the slopes. So we're looking forward to the rest of this season. And again, know before you go. We've got tips at coloradoski.com and a COVID page with information about resorts across the state, but definitely looking forward to the next year ahead as well.
And Chris, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your insight, getting us super pumped to get out there and ski and ride in our beautiful mountains. And guys, I'll see you on the slopes. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Colorado and Me.